This is The Toss-Up, where we take a look at some of the topics facing the world of sports, and then we dive deeper. Whether it's your best friend's fantasy team or the future of college athletics, we're just trying to expand the conversation. We just want to take a look at the topics that keep you tuned in to the beautiful world of sports. You all know how the season ended for Indiana men's soccer last year. You know about the shutout streak. You know about the freshman phenom of a goalie and the loaded lines of forwards and midfielders. But what you may not know is that this team next year could be just as dangerous. And you don't have to wait until August to see them play. The Hoosiers will play 7 games between now and the start of May for their spring season. 8 seniors, including Andrew Gutman and Austin Poncho, will pick up their quest for 9 in late February, with the taste of the overtime defeat to Stanford still fresh in their mouths. Who will be those senior leaders? What about the stellar sophomores? And what freshmen will contribute? These are the questions that this team's fate relies upon, and the questions that we could get a peek at the answers to this spring. Hi folks, I'm your host Michael Dugan. Joining me on the panel this week, we have Michael Ramirez, the IDS men's soccer beat reporter, and the IUSTV men's soccer beat duo of Austin Girardelli and Juan Diego Alvarado. Gentlemen, are we ready to talk some IU men's soccer?
Yes, we are.
All right, so Michael, I'll kick it to you for this first question. Just briefly explain to those who may not know, what is the spring season and what does it mean?
It's just a little time for the soccer team to get back into the swing of things. You know, it's fresh off of the end of last season, and it really just gives an eye and a little peek into what next year can bring. Obviously, it's going to be not as many first-team players you're not going to see on the pitch, but you will see some players that haven't gotten as much playing time from last season, and maybe to see what they can bring for the next season.
All right, now let's get down to X's and O's. Coming off the historic season they had last year, how are they going to replace the talent of Lillard and Toye?
Well, Toye, I mean, you know, obviously gone to the MLS as well as Lillard. Now, Lillard, he's an extremely talented defender. Obviously, he might crack the first team for the Chicago Fire, but they do have a new load of freshmen coming into this season, and headlined by Jack Mayer, who Coach Yeagley really, really loves this kid. He's out of Illinois. He's a really, really good talent. He's strong, he's tall, and he can run. He's got a lot of speed. And, you know, with the 6'3" stature like that, Grant Lillard's 6'4". He's only an inch shorter than Grant Lillard. And Yeagley really likes this guy, like I said. He could really crack the first team. He's got a really good chance. And then at the other end of the pitch, you have Ryan Wittenbrink, who is coming off of a really spectacular senior high school season, obviously, like we already mentioned. And then you have Thomas Warr, who was very inconsistent at the end of last season, especially, you know, he couldn't get his consistency down. And then, obviously, you have some other players that could fill in. Andrew Gutman was second in the goal-scoring tab for the Hoosiers. You know, he's a really prolific left back. And then also you have Justin Rennicks, who came off of his injury. He was really plagued last season by that injury to his right leg. He's coming off of that injury. He struggled to find consistency, but maybe with the right keys and the right tools and the right tweaks in his training, you could possibly see him play up top.
I think IU got it off easy, only losing 2 players in their main squad, both Grant Lillard and Mason Toye. Doesn't destroy what you have built as a team for Todd Yeagley. Like you said, Jack Maher is almost a reflection of Grant Lillard. He's only an inch shorter than him. He's fast, and he could cover that spot well. At least that's what Todd Yeagley believes. We're gonna have to see now how he develops in this spring season, which is perfect for him to adapt to the team and get used to his new teammates and this new style of playing, which is college soccer.
Mm-hmm. And like you mentioned, Juan, the talent is still there for IU. They didn't lose a whole lot of talent. And the thing that they really need to work on is Grant Lillard was the leader of that team. And someone needs to come in and take that role to make sure the defense is tight and sound. And then as far as Mason Toye was fearless up front. He was a guy that shot a lot. Sometimes we thought shot too many times. But that fearless mentality is sort of what propelled him to that late season spurt with all the goals, eventually passing Andrew Gutman for the goal scoring leader. And they have the talent up there. As you mentioned, Rennicks, he's very skillful. Him and Griffin Dorsey are probably 2 of the most skilled players in the conference. But really, they're going to need somebody to take over on goal and create more chances that way.
Now, who's going to take over that leadership role? I know we've name-dropped a couple of those potential guys, but what upperclassmen do we think could take the leadership roles this season?
Andrew Gutman. He's such an intense guy when he plays. You can tell he appreciates and loves the competition. Whenever he's on the field, you can tell he wouldn't mind picking a fight with his opponent. He's an aggressive player, and I feel like he can be the voice and the face for IU soccer with his teammates in the locker room and on the court.
I mean, honestly, there could be other areas of concern for this team just because there's so many leaders from last season that are coming back onto this team this season. You know, you have players like Juan, you mentioned Andrew Gutman, but also Frankie Moore, who really strings together that midfield. He really glues everything together. Everything kind of starts with him, and everything works around him as well. He's really a key piece, not only in the midfield. I thought he was one of the most underrated players of the season last year. I mean, he's really, really vital to not only that midfield, but he can play back in defense, help the defense out. He can play box to box, which is what really, really intrigues IU coach Todd Yeagley. And, you know, kind of like his son Ben Yeagley, that's what I really like about him. I could see him, you know, obviously, he won't play next season. He's kind of more towards the future, but he's a player kind of like Frankie Moore. He can tackle a defender, and that's what you see about Frankie Moore. He can tackle a defender, get up, and then make a key pass downfield. He's got really, really great vision. Not only him, but Timmy Mell, who's been very, very vocal, and then Trey Muse as well. I'm really intrigued to see how much Trey Muse steps up because he was a very vocal player last year. It just depends how much he can take that to the next level this season.
Yeah, and collectively, they're going to have to work together. As you mentioned, there's 8 seniors on this roster, so someone's going to have to step up and be the voice of this team. And like you mentioned, Michael, I think a good shot is Frankie Moore. He was really vocal last year, and he wasn't scared to lay into the freshmen. And many times he was giving it to Mason Toy after a few times missed passes, things like that. And that's really going to have to come into play this year, just at a bigger grand scheme of things. He's going to have to sort of take over that role that Grant Lillard left behind.
Now, you go one.
Yeah, also, this one thing that I'm really excited to find out is to see how the team leaders, like the ones we mentioned, like Frankie Moore especially, how have they processed the defeat against Stanford, that painful defeat that we remember over in Philadelphia, and will we see Frankie Moore doing something that we haven't seen him done before? Like we said, we were speaking earlier, shooting the ball from outside the box, generating different types of play with the experience he have gained from that defeat last year against Stanford.
Now, Trey Muse. Does IU need him to replicate last season or get even better than last season if they want to make another deep run? Is there another level he can even take his game to? He was so good last year.
I feel like the next level he has is professional level. Trey Muse is such a good goalie. He gives so much confidence to everyone in the team, including the bench with the coaches. He's a big goalie. He has good hands. He's not afraid of coming up in corners and punching the ball out of the box. He's a great goalie to have in a collegiate team, and IU has to be sure that they have safety in the 3 posts.
And Trey Muse has really got the talent, but he's going to put that on display more this year. We had a historic year out of the Hoosiers last season as far as defense goes, and with Grant gone, you know, there might be a few laps of judgment, things like that out of the younger guys, whether Timmy Mell will be able to completely step up and take control of that back line. So this year might see Trey Muse a little bit more active between the post and more saves than we sort of saw last year.
Yeah, in my opinion, Trey Muse was the best goalkeeper in college soccer last season. And I mean, it's easy to say because of how many saves he had, how many games of shutout soccer he played. We already know about that. It's just the mystery is how much better can he get? And obviously, we don't know yet because of that, the season hasn't started. But he's got a lot of room for potential. Even though he was very, very good last season, like I said, one of the best goalkeepers in college soccer, we don't know how much more talent he has, how much more he can bring to this team, and that's what I'm really intrigued about. We don't know if he's hit his peak yet.
We're going to have to see also how that defense stands, whether we're going to see shots pass or players pass that defensive line to see if Trey Muse is going to get more action inside of the 3 posts too.
All right, well, we're going to cut to break here for a second, guys, but coming up after the break, our panel will take an in-depth look at the freshmen, so stick with us. Welcome back to the Toss-Up. We're talking IU soccer and the upcoming spring season, but before we take a look at the newcomers, let's toss it over to Austin Matricardi for a look at the incoming signing class. Austin?
Thanks, Michael. The 2017 Indiana men's soccer recruiting class was pretty special. Players like Griffin Dorsey, Mason Toy, and Trey Muse came in as freshmen and immediately made an impact as key players on a team that finished the season as the national runner-up. That kind of freshman excellence can't be matched in 2018, right? Coach Todd Yeagley's brought in a class that can certainly try. Top Drawer Soccer's 8th-ranked recruiting class features players at all levels, including a trio of defenders, a forward, a midfielder, and a goalkeeper. Let's start at the back end. Bryant Pratt is a 3-star goalkeeper from Columbus, Ohio. He's a former Golden Glove winner at the U.S. Youth National Championships, and while the Hoosiers have one of the best players in the country between the posts, it never hurts to have a depth and an eye toward the future. At the next level, we see 2-star Daniel Mooney, 3-star Isaac Sarosi, and 4-star Jack Mayer. The trio of defenders will look to bolster a back line that will be without Mac Herman Trophy finalist Grant Lillard. Mayer in particular could make an impact next season as the Caseyville, Illinois native brings U.S. Youth National Team experience with him to Bloomington. The next Hoosier signee has a familiar last name. Bloomington South midfielder Ben Yeagley will bring a sense of familiarity to campus. The 2-star prospect is more than the coach's son, though, as he scored 22 goals and tacked on 10 assists as a senior to bring his South career point total to 117. The final member of Indiana's recruiting class will play up top. Ryan Wittenbrink of Libertyville, Illinois is a 3-star prospect who scored 39 goals as a senior, not to mention his 17 assists. The forward was praised by Todd Yeagley on signing day for his attacking versatility, something the Hoosiers certainly won't mind adding to the squad. It appears that despite the loss of a few key players from last season, the Hoosiers soccer team will still have plenty of depth, something they'll need if they hope to make a return to the College Cup in 2018. Back to you, Michael.
Thanks, Austin. All right, guys, now let's talk freshmen. Like Austin said, top 10 recruiting class, 6 different guys. Who is someone that Indiana fans should be excited about coming in?
Ryan Wittenbrink. Versatile player. Apparently, he can use both legs to score. I would love to see a striker that gets on the field and like bangs every single shot he gets in. First touch, not even stopping the ball. Just like as the ball comes in, just shooting it in goal. Seeing something like that would be really, really impressive here for IU fans.
I'd say Jack Mayer, he's probably got the best chance to see some action early on. This IU team is sort of loaded with a midfield core, and with the loss of Lillard, he's really got the most potential to step up, and as we mentioned earlier, he's got the frame, he's got the body to do it. Coach Yeagley says he's got the mindset of the typical IU player and he's got the culture down. So this spring season will be pretty important for him as he gets his feet wet in college soccer.
Yeah, you guys pretty much hit the nail on it. I was going to say Jack Mayer as well, just because of his size, his athleticism, his quickness. He's pretty much got it all. I mean, only 1 inch shorter than Grant Lillard. Obviously, he's not going to completely fill that void. No one's expecting him to. And, you know, maybe he won't start, but he's got the best chance to break that starting 11. Obviously, playing alongside Timmy Mel is an absolute honor for him, especially in his first season. It's absolutely incredible. It's as good as you get just because of that back line. With Andrew Gutman at his left, Jordan Klein or Reese Buckmaster at his right, alongside Timmy Mel, Jack Mayer's going to be in good hands.
Now, how does this recruiting class compare to Coach Yeagley's recruiting classes of the past?
I'd say it's a bit different because IU is sort of in a different spot right now. They brought back the 8 seniors, and then they have Trey Muse, Griffin Dorsey, and a lot of the other freshmen from last year's class. So IU really didn't need these top-tier freshmen to come in and start right away. There's no Mason Toy that came in here and is going to lead the conference in goals. But what Coach Yeagley liked about this class is their potential to develop into the system and be useful later on in their careers further than 2018. Because when this current team leaves next season, there's going to be a lot of holes to fill, and this freshman class will be among the first to get their chance.
I'm looking forward to watch this freshman class play because this freshman class is going to be the one people are going to expect that's going to take IU soccer to a next level. IU already got to the championship game of the NCAA tournament, and now IU has the target on its back. IU has become the team to beat. They didn't lose a single match in the entire season, and what this freshman will bring to the table for this team, it's going to be crucial for them to like figure out what's going to be up for them in the upcoming season as well.
Yeah, like Austin said, they're in a little bit of a different spot than at the beginning of last year. At the beginning of last year, there was a lot of concern about where the goals were going to come from. Obviously, with the departure of those seniors from the last season, And, Mason Toye, he was a breakout star. No one expected him to score as many goals as he did. No one expected him to lead the conference in goals as well. But you have, I guess, a little bit of a void there. But like I already said earlier on the show, Andrew Gutman was the second leading goal scorer. That's a left back. And the way he can get up and down the pitch from box to box, side to side, he's really, really versatile. And so I feel like there's not as much concern in that area. Obviously, with Grant Lillard leaving, Jack Mayer's going to be huge, and other players as well. It's going to be a little bit of a system to fill the void, not just one player. But they're in a different spot. They don't need a whole bunch of goal scorers to come in right away. They have Justin Rennicks, like I said, who's coming back from injury. He's at 100% now. And then obviously with the addition of Ryan Wittenbrink, that it's a little bit of a different spot. But, obviously this freshman class is going to be a little bit more of the future than as of right now. But the players that can bring the talent to next season are going to be very interesting.
All right, it's time for the lightning round. There's one rule. Your answers have to be at or under 10 seconds. First question, who is Indiana's breakout player going to be this year?
I believe it's going to be Justin Rennicks, number 10. Great technique. He has the attitude, and he has the spirit to become the leader of this team as well.
I'd go with Reese Buckmaster. He's just so versatile. He came in last year and played a lot of right back, but Coach Yeagley said his best position is center mid. So we'll see about Reese.
I'm going to go with Corey Thomas. He's one of the veterans on the team. He's one that really likes to improve his attacking, and that's what he stressed for last season. I think he's going to get it down this season, and you're going to see a lot of more goals out of him for the next season.
MVP of the team.
MVP Andrew Gutman, a leader. He's the left back with probably most goals in the history of IU, perhaps, and he's probably going to be a big topic of talk for IU soccer.
I'd have to say Griffin Dorsey. He was sort of unsettling last year. He had the talent but didn't produce all the way, and I think this year, with Toye gone, he's really going to come into his own.
I think I already alluded to it a little bit earlier, but I'm going to go with Frankie Moore, one of the most underrated players from last season. He's going to string it together and produce maybe even some more goals. He's just a great defensive midfielder.
Now, pending a handful of catastrophic injuries, what is this team's ceiling?
IU's going to be able to set its own ceiling. I see them repeating what they did this season and going back to an NCAA tournament again and probably winning it this time, knowing the experience they have gained.
Yeah, I'd agree with Juan there. It's hard to really improve your ceiling of last year. They didn't lose a game and they went to the national championship, so that's a reasonable explanation for this year too.
The only thing they have left is to build upon what they established last season. And I think that's really what you're going to see from the next season. They have all the talent in the world. They have the experience. It's got to be the national championship.
All right. Well, as we near the end of the discussion, it is time for last word. So, Juan, what is your last word on IU soccer?
I am really excited about spring season. We're going to see great games here in Bloomington, including two teams that have professional level, like the Mexico youth team and the Grand Swope Park. Two teams that have quality players, and it's going to be good to see our IU side match up against teams of this caliber.
To go along with what Juan said, the spring season is going to be important, and I think the key word here is develop. This freshman class needs to develop not only over the course of this spring season, but over the entirety of this whole season. Learn from these seniors, figure out what it takes to be an Indiana Hoosier on this team, and then work from that as they move further in their career.
I really like that word.
Well, thank you very much.
I like develop. I'm going to go build. You're going to build on what you had last year. It's only going to go up from here. And you have all the, like I already said, you have all the experience, all the talent in the world. It's time to build on that.
All right. I agree with everything these guys said. The toughest thing to do in sports is to meet or exceed, rather, expectations. And it's really impossible to predict whether or not a team can exceed expectations or meet expectations because there's so much that plays into it, especially 7 months ahead of time. But if there's any team to do it, this team is built like the team that can do it. Well, that does it for the show this week. Be sure to continue the discussion on our Twitter page at IUSTV Sports and on Facebook at IUSTV Sports. You can always give any suggestions for the show and ask any questions you might have. Toss it up. Find out if we'll catch it. We'll see you next time.